You're tuned in to the Foxboro BeatCast, a podcast for Patriots fans by Patriots fans. And here's your host, Kaleb McChesney.
Hello and welcome to the Foxboro BeatCast, everybody. I'm your host, Kaleb and Trent. Alongside me for I won't say the last one because we still have a full off season to go to. We'll be back next week. We got plenty of things to talk about, but the Super Bowl's over. Football season's done. The Kansas City Chiefs 25, San Francisco 49ers 22. One of the better Super Bowls of the last couple of years, I feel like. That first half was obviously kind of just soul crushing and draining, but the fourth quarter and overtime more than made up for it. We have plenty to talk about that, the game itself, the things surrounding the game. And Patriots fans, I know that the last couple of weeks have been a little quiet, a little dead in the water, but we do have a Patriots segment for you that, you all should be very, very excited about. But before we kick anything off, Trent, happy off season. Finally, our teams can start getting to work. How you feeling after the Super Bowl? You feeling good? Feeling optimistic?
Feeling about in general or just my team?
General. You include your team in that too.
Feeling good. Definitely one of the best finishes to a Super Bowl ever. I don't think anybody would dispute that. That first half was gross, like you said, but I think in the second half it actually turned into a chess match as opposed to just two
bad offenses. Yeah,
but feeling good. Sad football's over, but now we're getting into one of my favorite personal favorite times of the year, which is draft season. So I'm pretty excited about it.
As you all can see by my hat and my new mustache look, I am fully embracing NASCAR season here. Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday. I don't know if I'll do anything for that. I do have some ideas. I do have some people. We'll see if anything comes out of that this week. But yeah, racing season for me. Very excited. Got racing articles coming out. BellyUpSports.com. Go check it out. But okay, let's put the non-Patriot stuff aside for 2 seconds because we got Patriot fans around here that want to know what's going on with the team. Some ideas that are being thrown out. It's obviously draft season. Trent, I'm sure you will be on consistently to help me out with navigating this draft offseason process. As a Patriots fan, we never really had to worry about the draft too much. We were always picking anywhere between 25th and 32nd for most of my life. And first time we've had a top 5 pick in years. I don't know when the last top 5 pick was. I'll have to research that. But number 3 pick. A lot of ideas going around about what the Patriots do with that, whether it should be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever the quarterback is there at 3, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, the wide receiver, or if you take an offensive tackle, if you trade down, or if you trade out of the number 3 pick, that's certainly a possibility. You sent me this earlier today that Chad Reuter of NFL Network published his newest mock draft, the 2024 NFL mock draft. He published it Monday morning. It includes a hypothetical trade that involves the New England Patriots and the Chicago Bears. Who knows if Patriots fans are interested in this, but here it goes. The Chicago Bears, who also own the number 1 pick, might be looking at a quarterback there, and Caleb Williams out of the fake USC, University of South California. Deal goes like this. The Bears acquire the number 3 overall pick, a 4th round pick, and a 2025 conditional pick, while the Patriots acquire the number 9 overall pick. They drop 6 spots to acquire quarterback Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields is a bit of a polarizing character since he came out of Ohio State. He had a couple of years of struggles early on in his career. The first 2 years, I think, he underwhelmed a lot of people, and he just wasn't the guy that we expected him to be. Given there was Matt Nagy there, Matt Eberflus hasn't been fantastic. But I think we both can say that Justin Fields proved he had a little bit of something in the second half of the 2023-2024 season. So let's give this a quick answer. Let's talk about it a little bit. Trent, should Patriots fans be into the idea of dropping 6 spots in the draft to take on I don't know how old is Justin Fields now? 24?
24, maybe 25.
Let me look at his age quick. Justin Fields, same draft class as Mac Jones, by the way. A lot of Patriots fans wanted Justin Fields in that class. They ended up getting robbed by the Bears there as they traded up to take Justin Fields, and we settled with Mac Jones. Justin Fields is 24 years old. He will turn 25 March 5th, the day before my birthday, believe it or not. So, Justin Fields and the number 9 pick, drop 6 spots. Get Fields, give up a 4th rounder and a next year conditional pick, which probably ends up being like a 6th or a 7th. Trent, what do you think of Justin Fields? What do you think about the fit here? Should the Patriots be into that idea?
I don't hate it at face value. Most years I would hate it because passing up a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., we've kind of talked about this off the pod before. I really don't like that. Unless you are, for the Patriots, unless you are fully set on this quarterback we can get at 3 is our guy 100%, you don't pass up Marvin Harrison Jr. But with the wide receiver class being as deep as it is, there's a very real chance you could end up with Malik Neighbors at 9. If not, you can almost certainly get Rome Odunze. And both of those guys, while they may not be Marvin Harrison Jr., are phenomenal, would be wide receiver 1 on the board most year type talents. So you can get that and Justin Fields, which I'm not the craziest about Justin Fields personally, but I see the potential there. One thing that it's hard to get it out of your mind, but Bill and the Patriots have gotten stuck with the stigma that, oh, you can't develop quarterbacks, can't develop quarterbacks. Well, that is out the window. Whole new regime. We'll see how they do. Excuse me. And if you could almost guarantee, hey, we're going to get every ounce of talent and potential out of Justin Fields that we can, I don't hate the trade. I just don't know how much potential is actually there to begin with.
Right. Obviously, the Patriots aren't going to be in the market for a quarterback. It was reported earlier last week that Mac Jones is going to be is like more than likely than not going to be here next year. So they're going to be in the market for somebody new, whether that's Jacoby Brissett on the free agency market, whether that's Jimmy G after he gets cut by the Raiders when they free up $25 million of cap space, whether that's Justin Fields, whether that's Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever's there at number 3. If you ask me for a gut take, I'm not really into the idea of getting Justin Fields. Obviously, last year proved more than he ever has. Or this year, he completed 61% of his passes, 2,500 yards with 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions after missing 4 games. Rushed for almost 700 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, he had a solid season, all things considered, after the kind of turbulence he had earlier in his career in Chicago. But I don't know. I'm warming up to the idea that you can't pass up on a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. for Justin Fields. If we're dead set on Daniels or May, do it. Pull the trigger, get the quarterback. Obviously, we're in agreement there. I think I valued the offensive tackle potential more than you might, but God, you need that can't miss receiver. And even if that comes before the quarterback, you can always go out and sign a Jacoby Brissett who's going to fill a role for a year and be pretty damn good at it as a stopgap. Or like we tried to sell somebody on Gardner Minshew. You could have him come into New England for a year and be that stopgap. There's plenty of potential that you can just ride it out with. You don't have to get your franchise quarterback this draft. Even you don't want to draft a quarterback for the sake of drafting one. You see that too many times in the NFL where teams draft quarterbacks because they feel like they have to. Josh Rosen with the Cardinals, Kenny Pickett with the Steelers, Trey Lance, even though it's a little different because the Niners traded up that massive haul to get him. Are we convinced that the Niners were really sold on Trey Lance until the day of that draft? Like, did they feel like they had to take a quarterback and that's why they went up that far, not specifically for Trey Lance? I have no idea. But the Niners certainly just drafted a quarterback for the sake of they felt like they needed one when they had a perfectly good one that could just ride it out, even if he couldn't stay healthy. They went to the Super Bowl the year before. So I don't know. We've seen him burn too many teams, and you need to be really careful about that quarterback position. It's going to be highly scrutinized. It's going to be high impact, and you want to make sure you get it right. So I'm with you. If you're not sold on the May or the Daniels, you take the wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. But I don't know. We'll see. We got plenty of mock drafts to go. I'm sure we'll revisit the idea of trading down, an idea that I'm more open to as a Patriots fan than you are as a Colts fan watching the Patriots of what we should do. But we have a long off season to get to, so that will be covered later. But we're both a quick no on Justin Fields, I guess, right? All right, worth kicking the tires on.
I think if you're gonna pass up Marvin Harrison, you like you said, I would expect a bigger return than Justin Fields and the 9th pick.
Yep. So, but if this coaching staff is like totally sold on Justin Fields and I think that they can get more out of him, I'd love to hear their case. I'd love to hear what they think that they can get out of Justin Fields that the Bears haven't quite done yet. I know why the Bears are trying to move off of Justin Fields, because Caleb Williams, according to most NFL teams, is a generational talent. Whether you and I think that or not is largely irrelevant, because that's just how the teams feel. So I don't know. Chicago's in an interesting spot. We're in an interesting spot. I think it's more likely we move down than take Harrison at 3, which I hate to say. That just seems to be the vibe right now out of the building. But like I said, we'll see. It was worth visiting that. Thank you for sending me that earlier today. Gave us a quick Patriots topic before we get into the long dreaded off season. But maybe we're excited about that. As we're in new territory for the Patriots. What's the first offseason without Belichick like? But we have a Super Bowl to talk about. We do. Me and Trent previewed it. We're here to recap it. Super Bowl 58 out in Vegas. Obviously, the Chiefs are the second coming of the dynasty. First back-to-back Super Bowl winner since we did it 20 years ago. Yeah, Trent, give me your big takeaways here. It was quite a game.
Yeah, yes, it was. And there's a lot of takeaways from that game. I think we learned a lot about both teams and a lot of the players on it, which we'll get to later. I'm sure, in particular, one Brock Purdy for sure. I think it solidifies more so the idea, the main point I think of about what we've been saying about Patrick Mahomes, in the sense of he had multiple drives, down points, need a score, or you lose the game, you lose the Super Bowl. And other than one really iffy pass, the little floater he kind of threw out into the midfield. I don't know if you remember which one I'm talking about. That one, he was getting hit, he needed to get the ball away, and he kind of threw it in the middle of the field. Luckily, no one was around, or it definitely
I kind of remember that, but the play that comes to my mind is when he's scrambling out and he like throws it with two hands to the sideline, looking as ridiculous as possible. Like he was just like pushing it. But
well, that was an iffy play, but I didn't really look at that as a mistake. That was more
just trying to get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, the play he made, that would have been a mistake, because that very easily could have been picked off if anyone was in the area. Outside of that, he was perfect. The second, once again, he did it where you get somebody the other day said that Patrick Mahomes doesn't start playing Super Bowl until he's down double digits. And the second it happened, it was like laser focus, locked in, making every single play he can, whether it's with his legs or with his arms. And I said it a few weeks ago on the pod, this guy's the freaking boogeyman. And every single time he needs to go out and make a play, he's going to make it. And he did it again. He's got 3 Super Bowls now in his first 6 years, six or 7 as a starter. I believe 6.
6 as a starter.
Yes. 6 seasons in the league, ending with 3 Super Bowls. The other 3 seasons ending with 1 loss in the Super Bowl and 2 losses in the AFC Championship game. it feels like this is what I imagine people felt like watching Michael Jordan in the late 80s. And obviously, by that point, Jordan didn't have the rings, but we've talked about it on the pod before that Jordan didn't need to match Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in championships before everybody was like, that guy's the best player we've ever seen. And they were right, because he was. I'm starting to very much get that vibe about Patrick Mahomes. I want to see how he looks later on in his career, not to turn this into a whole Mahomes Brady thing again, but he is looking like Brady did 17, 18, 19 years into his career. Is he going to be able to keep that up? Is he going to be able to sustain it? Is he now going to go into some 10-year Super Bowl drought like Brady did after winning his third one? I doubt he will, but lots of at this point Patrick Mahomes is chasing ghosts. And I think that's going to be the narrative with him moving forward. And my big takeaway is if they're able to keep Snead and Chris Jones, which I don't know if they're going to be, there's no reason this team can't be the first team to ever three-peat in NFL history.
Oh, for sure. The only thing that's going to be holding back the Chiefs really is assuming that we don't have as many quarterback injuries in the AFC like we did. Assuming that, you know, other teams in the AFC make great improvements, as the Chiefs should. It's going to be interesting offseason for sure, just to see how teams look at this and try to combat it. I do have a Mahomes little write-up, if you're interested in hearing it here. Very statistical, very analytical, but I'll try to make it quick. Since 2001, there have been 125 drives in the NFL postseason where it was at least the fourth quarter. There was a minute left to play, and the team on offense trailed by 7 points or fewer at the start. These are your standard clutch moments for a football team. The do-or-die drives that win or lose critical games. Out of those 125 drives, only 40% of them saw the team on offense pull off the magic trick and get the points they needed. Some quarterbacks are pretty good at it, such as Tom Brady, who went for 5 of 11, 46%, or Drew Brees, who went 3 for 6, 50%. Remember, this is postseason. Only Patrick Mahomes, though, is 7 for 7 or perfect in those dire situations. 7 for 7. More attempts than Drew Brees and 100% completion percentage. Just unreal. Patrick Mahomes is, like you said, we didn't need Jordan to cross 11 championships to be the greatest of all time. Everybody knows I'm a big Colin Cowherd fan. He said today that he already thinks that Mahomes is the best player he's ever seen. I'm right there with him. He is quite literally the best player that the NFL has seen. Just from raw ability to getting it done in crunch time. Does he have the longevity? We've talked about this. Maybe we need to figure out what the definition of greatest is to really kind of figure this out. But yeah, Mahomes, I think you're lying to yourself if you're not looking at him and saying this is quite possibly the best football player that the league has ever seen. I think it's hands down, but I'm a little bit more I have a little more definitive kind of feelings about things usually. I'm a little more black and white, concise. I don't have a lot of gray area. That's one of my weaknesses. But I don't know, man. Patrick Mahomes, he's an unreal football player. We are witnessing a lot. We're witnessing some cool stuff there. It's very reminiscent of the early Patriots days with just how different they were doing things. The Chiefs are doing things differently. And I'm excited. I like watching it. I like seeing it. I like seeing the Chiefs doing what they're doing. I'm sure that eventually we'll get sick of it, as everybody did with the Patriots, become the second time around. And I don't think there's going to be a 10-year gap. But just with the current state of the NFL and where the Chiefs are, they're proving that they can do it without a top tier wide receiver. Travis Kelce, I mean, he turned up these playoffs. He certainly showed up in the Super Bowl with that clutch catch. I think, was it the fourth quarter to tie or the overtime drive where he caught the underneath and took it for 22 yards? I forget if that was overtime or if that was the fourth quarter tie. But either way, Travis Kelce was clutch in this game.
It was overtime, and a fun fact about that, I heard this the other day. That play, according to Next Gen Stats, is the fastest Travis Kelce has ran on a play in 7 years.
Oh, I bet he hit another gear. But God, the Patrick Mahomes thing, it's going to be interesting to watch the rest of the way. I mean, he's going to be playing by the time until we're ready for like our 4th job in our 3rd house and all that fun stuff.
Well, knock on wood, hopefully. Crazy
Yeah.
things have happened.
But yeah, just props off to him in Kansas City. They all deserve the credit. Andy Reid's going to be back. Travis Kelce's going to be back. Mahomes obviously just getting started. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun seeing that team next year. But there's another team that was in this game that we kind of need to have a conversation on. A lot of things coming out about this team. The San Francisco 49ers. I think we're going to have a lot of intense opinions on this one. They came up short. Just like they did in 2019, they were one drive of capping it off away. The team played good enough to win that game for sure, but they kind of gave it up. They let their foot off the gas a little bit. Had some really bad miscues, had some really bad plays, and obviously there's a story about how they weren't aware about the new overtime playoff rule. Did I hear that they weren't coached on that? What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Kyle Shanahan, or do you want to just sink your teeth right into Brock Purdy?
Well, Kyle Shanahan, I think, is really interesting because this is not the first time this has happened to him as a head coach. It's not the second time it's happened to him as a coach in general. This is the 3rd time now he's blown a double-digit lead at some point in the Super Bowl. And every time, pretty similar reasons. Passing when he shouldn't be. And we talked about this the other day. I feel like he can't help himself. But right now, that seems to be his vice. In the same way that young Andy Reid, coincidentally enough, his vice was horrible clock management, losing him these big games, getting out coached when it was most important. I think it's interesting that Andy Reid has kind of flipped it to where he's the level-headed, the consistent that stays the course, and Kyle Shanahan's the young, brash offensive guru who can't help himself and loses himself these big games. I'm not ready to write him off. There's people saying he's on fraud alert, things like this, that, and the other. What he's been able to do with this team, I think, is still remarkable, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. But now making the Super Bowl is not enough. That's no longer is making the Super Bowl going to be a feather in his cap until he actually wins one. And he very well could have won it the other night. I don't think it's fair to put it on him. I think it was a horrible decision to take the ball first. And I understand his logic about it to an extent. I would have went second, and I think the Chiefs also would have went second had they had the choice. But a lot of little things in a game this tight is what lost in the game. I don't think it's fair to blame it on Kyle or anyone in particular, but it's an obvious trend now of Kyle coming up short in these big games.
No, right. Like you said, I think the reaction, obviously the reaction just right after the Super Bowl is going to be a little intense. Obviously, and obviously there's a trend here that he doesn't really he can't help himself when it comes to the big games and just getting a little cute, I guess would be the way that I put it. He's getting too cute with some of his calls, with some of his decisions. But and I want to make this clear because this just sounds so stupid to me. Was it true? Like, is there a definitive truth that he did not coach his team on this new overtime rule? Because this was the first time that we saw it in action.
There are players saying, what we know for a fact is there are players who did not know the rules until they read it on the big board in the stadium. That is a fact. Kyle Juszczyk being one of the players, I believe, who didn't know. Now, I said this, I think I said this to you the other day. I don't know if that's because Shanahan himself also did not know, or if it's because Kyle Shanahan knew and didn't tell his players. I'm not sure which is worse for Kyle, but it's a very bad look that his players weren't absolutely, and it's a bad look for the players too. Don't get me wrong; they should be finding this stuff on their own, but Kyle should absolutely be making sure that these guys know what they're doing.
Apparently, the Chiefs had held meetings on it, and they had discussed their plans and what they would do in certain situations. They dedicated practices to it. God, it's not looking great for Shanahan. He needs to get one if he really wants to be taken seriously. Unfortunately, what did? How long did Andy Reid stick around in Philly before they said enough was enough? Did they give him the whole 10 years?
He was there over a decade.
Do you think?
I
Do you think?
feel
Do you think in today's NFL that the Niners would ever say, "Okay, dude, you're getting us there, but you can't get us over the top. We have to move"?
it would take a lot. I think something would have to happen. A really embarrassing loss would have to happen because it's another situation where we've talked about this on the pod before where people were calling for Belichick to get fired in the middle of the season. Nobody would have taken the Patriots front office seriously if they fired the guy who won them 6 championships in the middle of the season, didn't at least give him the grace to finish it out. I think that if the Niners fire Kyle Shanahan and he's getting you consistently to NFC Championship games, Super Bowls, coming within 10 minutes of winning them, it would be a very unserious thing to do if they were wanting players, future coaches, etc., to take them seriously. That is not the thing that they would do.
So I'll pitch you this situation, then we'll move on to the juicy topic of Brock Purdy. Say the Niners, no, the injuries aren't involved here. They don't lose because of injuries. Say that they have a relatively clean bill of health. They end they end the season with all their Avengers. Okay, and they go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. Do you think the seat temperature comes up even a little bit?
Would the temperature come up? Yeah, to go from the Super Bowl. I mean, you saw it happen with, not obviously Nick Sirianni doesn't have the clout Kyle Shanahan does, but you saw it happen with them. They had a season where they went to the Super Bowl. Guys on the team almost won MVP. They barely lose the Super Bowl next season. Super disappointing by their standards. But Sirianni didn't get fired, but his seat definitely got hot from what everybody could tell. People would definitely start to question Shanahan. I don't think anybody is seriously questioning whether he's the coach for this team or not, but if they were to fall off a cliff and just have a horrible season next year out of nowhere, yeah, people would start to think about it.
How about 2-15?
Well, if they went 2-15, I think some serious conversations would be had. Me personally, I still wouldn't fire him.
Yeah, so you take a couple of bad years, going on 3 to 4 mediocre years. Would you say 3 or 4, 8 and 9 missed the playoff years? You gotta figure it out. It'd be too hot of a reaction to do it after next year. I'd tend to agree.
I mean, Andy Reid, I looked it up. Andy Reid was there for 13 years.
What did it look like at the end, as far as records?
I believe if I'm correct, I believe he only had one bad season. At the very end, and they fired him, but that was after a decade of being the bridesmaid, never the bride, going to 5 NFC title games, going to a Super Bowl and losing it.
So the last 3 years there in Philly, 10-6, 8-8, 4-12.
Yep. I believe that 4-12 season is the only losing season he had in Philly. I could be wrong, but
2005 he had a bad year, 6-10.
okay.
But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't say what years he made the playoffs. Okay, yes, it does. He missed the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in his tenure in Philly. Relatively successful. Only made 1 Super Bowl though. Shanahan has made 2.
2. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the conversation should start, but nothing substantial. But maybe a discussion of at what point do we have the serious conversation? At what point does the temperature go up? So we'll see. The Niners they should obviously feel pretty comfortable about having Shanahan, but there's something to these big games and just not being able to help himself. And there's, as much as people want to take the easy cop out of the quarterbacks, Brock Purdy had him in a spot to win that football game.
Yeah,
Jimmy G,
and
obviously they were in a spot to win it, but Jimmy G was less capable of digging them out of it than Brock Purdy was. I will fully admit that as the card carrying Jimmy Garoppolo fan club member that I am.
yeah, at a point, especially with the way Purdy played, and we'll get to it here in a second, obviously, a very valid question for people questioning Kyle Shanahan right now is, how much do you need? The narrative around the 49ers for years has been, oh, we just need competent quarterback play, and our system and the rest of our team is so stacked that nobody's going to be able to stop us. Well, you got more than competent quarterback play out of Brock Purdy in that game, and you still lost. So what more do you really need?
I'm right there with you. Let's just dive right into this Brock Purdy thing, okay? Let's just do it. We've been taking some heat in the group chat lately, and we just need to set this thing straight. We need to give everybody the correct answer on the Brock Purdy question. And I'm going to pitch it just like that, the Brock Purdy question, because it's the only thing we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks. Can't wait to move on to other things. Brock Purdy. Let's just go to his stat line in the Super Bowl here, okay? Let's just look at the raw numbers. 23 of 38, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, quarterback rating of 89.3, 3 rushes for 12 yards, his longest rushes of 9. Longest pass was for 24. 1 touchdown, 255, 23 of 38. Solid by considering everything. But he's a pretty solid game. On the season, we can look right back at this again. In 2023, 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks. He was 4th place in the MVP votes, 6th place in the Offensive Player of the Year votes. Comeback. They really got comeback Player of the Year votes? That's crazy. A Pro Bowler. Brock Purdy he proved to be a pretty solid quarterback. Hate to tell the people that were doubting on him in December like I was, like Trent was. Pretty solid. He was in the Super Bowl though. Obviously, there's going to be conversations about is he better? Is he even better than that? Is he even better than the competent quarterback that we all saw? The good enough to get you in a position to win. After that game, Trent, season's over. The whole season's over. Taking a look at the complete picture now. There's no more questions, really, I don't think. I think we kind of know what the answer is at this point. But Trent, what is the answer? What is Brock Purdy? Where did we put him? What do we make of him?
I think that Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback.
Okay.
I think I
so
would
define
put him.
So hold on, Trent. People need to know, what does very good mean? We need to put him in the tier with everybody else. Who is in the very good tier?
Well, it depends on what you value, and it's very weird because,
Okay.
and I'm about to praise Brock Purdy a lot in this segment, but he did miss some touchdown throws. There were he had guys open in the end zone, and he missed them. Some of those he was getting hit. Some of those he wasn't, and he just airmailed it just a bit and out of their reach. If he connects on one of those passes, they win the game. Now, that's not me blaming the loss on Purdy by any means, but he had chances to win that game, not necessarily in the clutch, but to give them an even greater chance, and he missed it. My point about saying Purdy is a very good quarterback is something I talked about a few weeks ago, and it wasn't even a Brock Purdy segment. We were talking about Josh Allen. I asked you, and I believe we were on with LCO at the time, who you trusted more in the playoffs. On a game-winning drive, games on the line, you need someone to go out and get a score. Who do you trust more, Brock Purdy or Josh Allen?
Do you remember what I said?
Yes, you guys said Josh Allen very strongly.
I don't feel like I was that strong.
You were both very strong. I remember.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I will.
And I said
that's certainly changed now.
Yeah, Well, that's the thing. I mean, how this might sound crazy, and I'm sure I'm going to take this farther than you are. How many guys in the NFL do you trust after these playoffs to not piss their pants in a we need to score right now situation? Obviously, Mahomes.
Yep. Mahomes. I think you can put Purdy in that list now. I think you can. I think you put him pretty comfortably. God, it gets hard. It gets hard after that.
Yeah.
It does. Ooh. Don't feel that comfortable about Jared Goff. I don't.
Nope.
Listen, I'll still put Kirk Cousins there.
Oh, no.
I'll still put him there. I will.
I'm taking Purdy all day in a clutch situation.
Okay, I wasn't saying over
Oh,
Brock Purdy. I'm just putting Kirk there. I'm just putting him there.
Okay.
God, just going through the list. Josh Allen, I mean, he's got the talent to do it. He really does. He just needs a coach that that can just break it into him. That's what he needs. I need to see more Trevor Lawrence in that spot. I really do. I need to see more of that. I need to see more Justin Herbert in that spot. And I'm gonna have a little bit. I'm gonna have something to say about Justin Herbert in the final discussion here. Yeah, it's not many. It's a small club. So give me the summary here. What am I supposed to get out of this exercise?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. The guy we said, and more so me, but I said at the beginning of the year, and I believe I said it on this podcast, these bills are going to come due for all of these teams. Their major weakness is going to come back and bite them in the ass. And it did for every team except the 49ers. They lost. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but we all thought he was going to have this Ravens-esque type game, 4 interception, just completely looks like he doesn't belong there. And he played better against the Chiefs defense than Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Tua Tagovailoa.
It's crazy to think about.
Crazy to think about.
Lamar Jackson won the MVP.
Exactly. And coming out of the Super Bowl, one of my main thoughts is if he just tweaks a couple of things and he just continues to improve, how good could he be? Now, right now, I don't think it really just depends on what you like, because regular season, I'm taking Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, all these guys over Purdy. But when it comes to winning football,
actually add Joe Burrow to the list of quarterbacks in the playoffs and the must win that won't crap himself.
I don't think
he'll
Jim.
crap himself.
I don't know, Jim. He kind of did in his last playoff game.
What was his last playoff game? Was that in Arrowhead?
Oh, yeah, he lost them that game. People don't talk about it because we're not allowed to say bad things about Joe Burrow, or we get shamed in public.
I'll have to go back and look at that one.
Oh yeah, he absolutely lost them that game. But these guys, obviously, in the regular season, they're much more talented. They're much more accurate. All of these things are true. And as cliche as it is, there's something to be said about having that dog in you. And I think I have no problem saying that Brock Purdy does have that dog in him.
He has a dog in him. I don't know if it's that
fun fact, and this is going to sound insane, but this is true. Brock Purdy on Sunday broke the record for the most fourth quarter or / overtime go-ahead drives in a single Super Bowl in history.
Huh.
He had 3 drives to take the lead in the fourth quarter and overtime.
So does that also mean that he completed them? Or they just had the most opportunities?
No, that means completed. Okay. Most successful go-ahead drives in the fourth quarter or overtime in Super Bowl history.
God, I don't remember Burrow being that bad in that game. Holy crap. 26 to 41. Touchdown and 2 picks. 5 sacks. That offensive line probably didn't do him any favors.
That second pick, if you go back and watch the clip of it, is really bad, too. It's really bad.
I hope Burrow makes a comeback, but you have some interesting takes on Burrow that I want to get to in the final segment. I do.
I don't know if the world's ready for that. We might have to let that one simmer for a little while.
Oh, come on. Just give me a preview. Listen, not Joe Burrow. God, Brock Purdy. you laid it out laid it up pretty perfectly. And like you said, who knows how much better he can actually get because he's still pretty young. It's only his second year. But we saw some limitations. I think we saw some of those limitations. With those misplays, we saw, I don't know. It's such a weird thing because the Niners are a perfectly built team that should have won that game. On paper, they stacked up, I would say, not confidently, but I think they stacked up enough to where if you put it on paper, just side by side, no context really, who wins this game just by the names of the players, I think the Niners have the edge. But it's just the difference was Patrick Mahomes is generational. He is one of one. If I've sent you a quarterback tier list or two where he is the only one at the top of the list. He is the only one in that top tier. Nobody matches him. As far as where Brock Purdy fits, it's really, I'm in two minds about it. One, obviously, he proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. He proved that he can win a Super Bowl. He's capable. There have been a lot of quarterbacks to come through and have pretty good seasons, and they proved capable of winning a Super Bowl. There's a lot of them. I don't know what to make of. I don't know what to make of Purdy at this point. He's not the bum that we thought he was. He's certainly not the bum I thought he was, and I hung out on that train a little bit longer than you did. I don't know. It's a hard conversation. It is.
It's hard because, and I've said a lot of good things about Brock Purdy. That doesn't mean that it is not still fair to question how is he going to look without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, a Hall of Fame left tackle, a Hall of Fame defensive end, defense littered with potential Hall of Fame guys, and one of the best head coaches in the NFL. He is in a great spot to succeed, and I don't think it's fair to say he's holding them back. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that he is carrying his weight on this team, which there were plenty of times where it looked like Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't. I love Jimmy too, but I think, like you said earlier, I think it's fair to say this isn't another Jimmy Garoppolo situation. I think it's too early to tell for sure, but I really like what I've seen so far from him. But there's a lot of context that needs to be put into talk about him. And I kind of talked about how the Purdy conversations as of a week and a half ago were really starting to get on my nerves because nobody wanted to put in fair context on either side. I felt
it wasn't good faith. It wasn't.
Yes, it was just bad faith takes left, right, and center. I think we've both kind of zeroed in on he's pretty good with maybe a lot of potential to become an elite level quarterback. I wouldn't go as far to say that, but there's not many guys if the chips are down and I need a game-winning drive in the playoffs. There's not many guys I would take over Brock Purdy.
So, I think the last question remains and will remain until we see more of it. Can he elevate the 49ers? Is he capable of pushing his game to a limit where only a couple of guys have it? I mean, we can say as much as we want about Josh Allen. There are games where he just torches a team. He just torches a good defense for 5 touchdowns. Like, we've seen that. Lamar Jackson, where he just, goes off. Joe Burrow, I mean, again, we've yet to see it without some. You've said some things about Joe Burrow. Obviously, he has always had some elite receivers around him since his days in college. But there are drives where Joe Burrow, with 2 minutes left, turns into Joe Burr, and he's surgical. He's absolutely surgical. And I just mentioned them: the Mahomes, the Allen, the Burrow, the Lamar, the top 4 guys that I have in my book. They all have those drives of just being them for lack of a better term. Like it's Joe Burrow is him, Josh Allen is him. Those moments. Have we seen a moment where Brock Purdy has been the center of why the team is great, why the team is doing what it's doing. Obviously, they couldn't do it with Jimmy G. We looked, we saw it. The Niners were very good with Jimmy G, and they're going to be very good with any capable quarterback, sure. Brock Purdy obviously has moved him to a level that wasn't just any average Joe, but I've yet to see just that game, that drive. He's capable of doing it, but where is like that moment? We kind of talked about it with the Mahomes Brady thing. I think Mahomes had his Brady moment on that overtime drive. I think that was surgical. I don't know. Where is it? I need to see it. I need to see it. And I would have loved to see it yesterday because that would have answered a lot of my questions.
Well,
You see what I'm trying to get at here? I'm not trying to be bad faith,
yeah,
but like I'm just pitching that thing. I don't know if he has that thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I don't think we've seen it yet either. The thing that's weird about Purdy is that he has throws where he had a couple throws in that game where I was watching the game with my family. I just looked over at my dad. I was like, that's a damn good throw. And then the next play, he'll follow that up with sailing a wide open wide receiver in the end zone by 10 yards and missing him. It's getting that consistency down. He grew a lot over the season as a quarterback because during the season, his Achilles heel was if things aren't clicking in other places and they get down, he's not great at playing from behind. Excuse me. That was a big crutch of his, or not a crutch, but that was a big ailment of his during the season. And this entire playoffs, he was playing from behind. And he didn't make mistakes, played a clean game. And I'm not saying that as a knock. Playing it, like I said in the chat probably 2 hours ago, playing a clean game when you're throwing into L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie all night, that's damn impressive. I don't care who it is. That's impressive. Lamar couldn't do it. Josh Allen couldn't do it. Tua couldn't do it. And that says a lot about Brock Purdy's decision making, and that's a big thing. There's a lot of guys whose decision making, Josh Allen, ruins the fact that they're one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen. Can he get on that consistent basis where he is making these crazy plays, making something out of nothing? I think Purdy is really good at finding avenues to make plays. I don't think he has figured it out yet how to create plays, how to make chicken salad out of you know what, so to speak. And one of the things we talked about the other day, I think it's so interesting that now the 49ers and the Chiefs have played twice in the Super Bowl. One team's entire ideology is it doesn't matter how good our quarterback is. Everything else is going to be so good, and our system is going to be so good that we're going to beat you with whatever. As long as we have a warm body under center, it doesn't matter. Then you've got another team who says, oh, we don't need the best wide receiver in football. Our quarterback is so good that we're going to put bus drivers and milkmen at wide receiver, and we're going to be fine.
And both times it came out the same way.
And both times it came out the exact same way. And the quarterback they had was good. Christian McCaffrey was phenomenal. I think he's a lock Hall of Famer. If he's not a Hall of Famer by now, I don't know what else he has to do. And I think everybody, for the most part, played really well. And it still wasn't enough because the guy on the other side of the field is going to make something happen. Now, I feel like you would agree with me, but I want your take on this. Let's say the Chiefs slip up in the AFC. Is there any other team in the AFC beating that Niners team in the Super Bowl?
Not confidently. Like I could name I think Baltimore would give him a game. I don't know if
Lamar actually shows up. If Lamar shows up, I think Baltimore beats him fine, but I don't trust Lamar to show up in a big playoff.
I mean, he did the first time they met.
He did, but that was regular season though.
Right.
That's the thing. In the playoffs, I mean, Lamar had one good half of football against CJ Stroud and the baby Houston Texans, and I feel like we gave him, myself included, a little too much credit for that. And then he faced a real team and looked like he shouldn't have even been on the field for a large
No,
part of that game.
Baltimore
So
would probably be the one comfortable pick. I would have liked to see Cincinnati if they didn't lose their quarterback. That would probably be the other team, but it's not a ton of guys. Nothing confident. Let's just say that nothing confident. I could talk myself into two teams, but nothing I'm looking at face value like yes, like I was with Kansas City because Mahomes.
yeah, I think it boils down to, and something that we as sports fans do a lot is we confuse the word can't with the word hasn't. I don't look at the 49ers like, oh, they can't win a Super Bowl. They can absolutely win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. I wouldn't have said that 2 months ago. They absolutely can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. They just didn't. I look at a situation like Buffalo, for example, where Josh Allen, with his current mind state, his inability to, he can't help himself from just sticking to the plan and not trying to do his best Brett Favre impression. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl until they fix that. I think the 49ers have a great blueprint down now. They just happen to run into the Kansas City Chiefs.
I got more, but I think we gotta put a bookmark in this for next time because we have a kind of a beautiful NFL season to kind of just put a close on. 2023, 2024 is over. Saw a lot of things go down. Have a lot of things to talk about and watch for over the next couple of months into next August or this coming August now, I guess. Um, Obviously, quarterback injuries were rampant this year. How different do those teams look? We had some coaches moved around. What does that look like? Um, let's just. I want to with one or two. Give me one or two, Trent, of things from the NFL season that just happened, and what you're kind of looking for after this move happened. After like, what are you looking forward to coming out of this past season? Just not just Super Bowl, but as a league as a whole. It could be about a team that didn't make the playoffs. It could be a team that was this close to making the Super Bowl. Tell me what you think.
There's a lot coming out of it. I think there's very few teams in the league that aren't interesting to see how they look coming into next year. I mean, you look at just the AFC West. Jim Harbaugh's with the Chargers now. How does that team look? I assume they're going to go through, a bit of a roster overhaul here. And now you have one of the, statistically, win percentage wise, one of the best coaches in NFL history with the team now. The Raiders look really exciting. What are they going to do at quarterback? Do they end up going J.J. McCarthy in the draft? The Broncos are the most exciting dumpster fire of an organization to watch in the NFL. There's the AFC South is going to be really exciting. I myself as a Colts fan, I'm really excited to see how they look with Anthony Richardson back in the fold.
7 to 8 weeks ahead of schedule there with that shoulder injury I read today.
He's a freak. He is a freak.
Wolverine blood. Yeah.
What we saw, I'm so excited with everything we saw. And the main thing I'm excited about with AR is how quickly he was learning. Because a lot of people may not know this, but he didn't have a quarterbacks coach in college.
Yeah, you've mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had no quarterbacks coach until he got to the Indianapolis Colts. And you saw week one, he was not protecting himself. He was not sliding, he was taking hits, stuff that was going to end up getting him hurt. Week two, he's sliding. He's getting out of bounds. He got concussed on a freak tackle while he was going into the end zone and didn't tuck his chin, let his head hit the ground. Freak thing. And then when he ended up hurting his shoulder and put him out for the year, it was a routine tackle. Guy just put his weight on him. Nothing you could do about it. He's learning so quickly, and he's only 22 years old, I think, by this point. I'm really excited about him as a fan. I'm excited to see what we do in the draft. The Jets are another beautiful dumpster fire. we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And it seems like anytime Aaron Rodgers gets on TV, he's pouring gasoline on that dumpster fire.
Yeah, no kid. And then being like, why? Why are you guys paying attention to all this crazy stuff I'm saying? What do you mean? The Dolphins have a big
It looks like they're going to be committing themselves to Tua for a big extension. It looks like that's basically a done deal from what I see. Like they're going to try to get this done ASAP. Whether that's a mistake or not, I think I just took your talking point away from you.
If they commit to Tua, I think Tyreek Hill is going to be asking for a trade by the end of next offseason.
Wow.
Can you imagine how he feels after talking all the crap he did after leaving Kansas City, talking about how awesome, how happy he was in the situation, all this. Well, the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls back to back without you. I don't think.
Is it fair to say that Tyreek Hill was holding the Chiefs back?
That I don't. If Skip Bayless were listening to that,
He'd steal it right from me.
3 weeks of content off that question alone.
Okay. I guess my thing. As far as Patriots related, again, this is the first offseason without Belichick. We're gonna be learning a lot, and we're gonna be learning a lot very quickly. I expect this offseason to be full of storylines, full of talking points, full of things and rumors and things that I'll go over weekly. Thinking about doing a live segment, call it Foxboro Fridays, where I just get on a live stream and just start yapping to whoever shows up. As far as that goes, my main thing I wanted to kind of hone in on, you started the segment with it, is Jim Harbaugh going to Los Angeles and the Chargers. Me and you had a little bit of a conversation about Justin Herbert today, and I talked a little bit about Justin Herbert in our group chat today. I feel weird about him. I haven't quite seen the Herbert is him, the dog in him kind of thing that we talked about with Purdy. Like I've seen it a couple of times in these weird regular season games. Like I know he has the talent to do it. I know he has kind of the edge to do it. I wonder if any of that has been lost through the last couple of years with Brandon Staley and just how rough the waters got with the Chargers in the last couple of seasons there. And Harbaugh, he's been known to get the most out of his players. He got the most out of J.J. McCarthy. He got the most of that Michigan team, and they won a national championship. And I think you mentioned it when the move was first made or when there was rumored that maybe it was you, maybe it was somebody else. Harbaugh is going to take away a lot of the weight off of Herbert's shoulders, and he's going to look better because of it. And was that something you said, or am I misremembering that? Trent. Oh no, we lost Trent. Oh boy. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm very excited to see what Justin Herbert looks like in 2000. Are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I lost you for a little bit.
Okay, great. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't misremembering who said this, if you said it. But with Harbaugh going to the Chargers, he's going to take a lot of the weight off of Herbert's shoulder, and Herbert is going to look better because of it. Was that something that you said on this show not too long ago?
I didn't say that, but
you agree with the premise.
I don't know about take the weight off necessarily, but this is a guy who went to, I believe, 3 straight NFC title game appearances and a Super Bowl, and his 2 quarterbacks were Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. If anybody is good at maximizing the talent around them and getting every inch of potential out of it, it's Jim Harbaugh. That being said, I mean, the wide receiver room is a war crime. Austin Eckler is pushing 30, and none of the other options they have at running back are any good. The cap situation is a mess. They have 3 tight ends who I don't know if they would start on any other team in the NFL. It's a really bad roster, and they've all had horrible coaching for years. I think Herbert is going to be fine. I personally don't think the criticisms against Herbert are all that fair. I put the loss to the Jags a lot on him because while the defense did blow that lead, he also didn't need to do much to preserve the lead to begin with. I put that on him, but first playoff game, it took Peyton Manning like 3 years, 3 playoff seasons to have a good playoff game, so I'm not going to knock Justin Herbert too much. I like Justin Herbert a lot.
I do too.
I don't know if his numbers are going to look the best because I think Harbaugh is going to instill smash mouth, run first football into that team. And in that sense, it'll take the weight off of Justin Herbert for sure.
Again, no, if you'll expect a huge year one turnaround for them, it's going to be a weird kind of transition phase, but I think it's certainly going to look better. I really do. And I'm really excited to see if Harbaugh can get the most out of Herbert, because I think the most out of Herbert, he's going to be joining that club of the top 4. We're going to be talking top 5, adding him right to the names with Burrow, Lamar, Allen, obviously the tier under Mahomes. But no, the Chargers are probably the team I'm going to be watching with the most intrigue for sure. But
we could have Chargers Chiefs week 1 opening night. That is on the board as a possibility. Could be interesting. Imagine Chiefs have their banner spoiled 2 years in a row. Yeah, by unsuspecting teams. We all thought the Lions were going to be pretty good this year. We didn't think they were going to be that good, especially knocking out the Chiefs week 1. I don't think any of us expected that going into that Thursday. But all right, I think we got a lot off our chest there. Don't know what to make of this show going forward. Hopefully, I expect to be back next week, same format. Don't know when I'll consider doing that Foxboro Friday segment, but if you're interested, please comment. Let us know what you think of it. Trent, once again, thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure. Hope to have you back as often as I possibly can. And as for you, the viewer, like, subscribe, share, comment, everything. You guys know the drill at this point. This has been the Foxboro BeatCast. We will see you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.